Welcome to my Business of Dentistry series. My presentation this morning is called Funny Math, the Hidden Dangers of PPOs. So I first learned about funny math, I think it was about the year 2000, and the NASDAQ stock market had crashed and I had gotten clocked like a lot of people had. And basically this is my definition of funny math. If I have a $10,000 investment that loses 50% of its value, I'm left with $5,000. Now, if I want to recoup the money that I'm lost, what am I going to have to make as a return to get back to even? You know, that's the first question that you ask. So in my mind, if I lose 50 and I gain back 50, I'm back even. But that's not true. The truth is, if you lose 50% of a $10,000 investment and you get 50% return, which is a lot, you're only back to $7,500. The reality is, if you lose 50% of an investment, you're going to have to make a return of 100% or double to get back to even. Now, this always baffled me, and for lack of a better term, that's what I call funny math. Now, as a young dentist, you are going to run across funny math. First and foremost, when you get involved with any kind of financial advisors, they're not going to talk about funny math. They talk about returns, but they do not talk about what happens when you have losses and what it takes to get back to even. Okay, they do not touch this subject. But even more of a hazard is your interactions with insurance people. And here's how this works. And you better understand funny math here, because this affects your pocketbook. Mr. PPO is going to come up to you and say, "Doctor, we see that you have a usual and customary fee for this procedure of $200, for example. And we're going to ask for you to write off 20%. So in your mind, you're saying, you know what, 20%, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and sign up for this PPO plan. But here's what happens. In a scenario where your usual and customary is $200 and your overhead is 60%, your profit is $80. If you write off 20% of that fee with the same overhead scenario, your profit is cut in half. Now that's called funny math. That doesn't make, on the surface, is a little bit hard to comprehend. So a 20% fee reduction yields a 50% decline in profits. Now there is not anybody in the PPO business that's going to explain that to you, period. It's up to you to understand this concept. Now, when I talk about getting clocked, here's where you get clocked. Here's a scenario where your usual and customary is $200 and profit is overhead 60%, and a PPO comes in a little more aggressively and says, I want a 35% reduction. Your profit goes from $60 to an actual loss of $10. You actually do a procedure that you lose money on. And that's why when I talk about understanding your P&L and understanding all this concept of profits and percentages and write-offs, this is absolutely essential, because this right here is the road to bankruptcy. And it all begins with that concept of what I call funny math.